In this episode, we will look at 12 locations around the Earth that are surrounded by mystery and intrigue. So let's get into it. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. What are the vital vortices? Many people refer to these 12 locations as vital vortices, but I name them vital vortices. These 12 locations have mysterious events and mysterious circumstances surrounding them. Among these mysterious locations is the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is located in between the Bermuda Islands, Puerto Rico, and Florida in the North Atlantic Ocean. Some people believe it's aliens behind this mystery. Since 1945, 15 planes have disappeared and 13 ships have disappeared. There has also been 2 lighthouse keepers on Bimini, Bermuda Island that disappeared. One theory involves methane gas. In some areas of the Bermuda Triangle, there is methane gas, and sometimes these bubbles are released from the methane gas and could destabilize the water that ships are floating over, as well as when they pop in the air, it could destabilize the air that planes are flying through. Another theory involves hurricanes. That entire triangle is Hurricane Alley. But one of the things I noticed is even though one of the most recent disappearance was during one of the hurricanes, most of the others are happening in December and January. Hurricane season is June through November. But if most of these disappearances are happening in December and January, is it because the water is colder? And because the water is colder, that's releasing the methane gas that's causing the bubbles? But instead of trying to solve the Bermuda Triangle by itself, maybe we should be looking at it based on all of the vortices that are on the planet Earth. These locations have a higher concentration of the Earth's magnetic field, and magnetic fields interfere with compasses. And on land, many of these locations are not inhabitable or no longer inhabited. If we look to the west of the Bermuda Triangle in the Pacific Ocean, we see the Hamakula volcanoes in Hawaii. This volcano is actually an underwater volcano, and it's on the southeast side of the island. And again, this area has problems with ships missing and planes missing. This area is also prone to not only volcanoes, but seismic activity. So once again, do we have some type of bubbles that are creating a disturbance with the water and the air above it that might cause planes and boats to crash and disappear? South of the equator and south of the Hamakula volcanoes is Easter Island. Easter Island is part of Chile in South America, and it's in the South Pacific Ocean. Easter Island is over 1,000 miles from the next closest inhabited island and over 2,000 miles away from South America, the closest continent. This small island that is only 14 miles long and 7 miles wide has nearly 1,000 of these Moa statues that are made out of volcanic rock and average 13 feet high. Some of these statues are as tall as 30 feet high and weigh 80 tons. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding those volcanic statues and who might have carved them. And the civilization that made those statues apparently has disappeared. There's a couple of places on our list of vortices where the entire civilization has disappeared. East of Easter Island is the South Atlantic Anomaly. This section of Earth has a higher concentration of ionized radiation caused by Earth's magnetic field being lower. This area of Earth actually interferes with satellites. They discovered this anomaly when satellites kept failing just in this one region of the Earth. They discovered that the Van Allen radiation belt actually comes closest to the Earth's surface at that location. I kept wanting to say Van Halen instead of Van Allen the entire time I was talking about this crazy radiation belt. South of the South Atlantic Anomaly is the South Pole. This is one of the least inhabited continents on the planet. So little of the Antarctic has been explored, so there's so many things that they're still going to discover. They continue to discover more species, and not just penguin species or seal species or whale species, but other species that are surviving in this harsh climate. They have discovered lakes as well as rainforest in the Antarctic, which probably supports the orange peel theory, which is basically just the tectonic plates, are constantly moving over the center core of the Earth, which is molten lava. And that causes all the surface of the Earth to change and rotate its position to where some things that used to be in an area of a rainforest is now under the Antarctic. The polar regions of the Earth are much more exposed to solar storms, and these solar storms do interfere with radio communication. Northeast of the South Pole is Great Zimbabwe. Located in the country of Zimbabwe in Africa, we have an old civilization that has disappeared. This city was developed in the late Iron Age, and it was built around the 11th century and apparently abandoned around the 15th century. At its peak, it might have held about 18,000 people. Recent discoveries in the area include a higher concentration of the Earth's magnetic field, and this area may have a greater impact on the reversal of the poles. The Wharton Basin is on the west side of Australia in the Indian Ocean. This area is studied quite a bit because of the Indo-Australian plate. This plate and the Burma plate ruptured, causing the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. East of Australia is the Loyalty Islands. This area is also known for its seismic activity, and in the past few years they've had over 50 earthquakes in the area. They also have whirlpools in the area, most likely due to the Coral Sea and the Pacific Ocean not playing nicely together. So we'll jump back up to the top of the Earth at the North Pole. The North Pole is a little bit different than the South Pole in which it's actually surrounded by multiple continents. It's also attached to specific countries. It still has some of the harshest land on Earth because of the freezing temperature, but it also has some of the most beautiful lights. but it is also impacted by solar storms, much like the South Pole is. Because there's more planes and more pilots closer to the Arctic than there are to the Antarctic, we have more evidence of the solar storms interfering with electronics and communications. And if we go back and look at Van Allen's graph, we see that both the North Pole and the South Pole have a magnetic axis. And it's the deviation between the rotational axis and the magnetic axis that's causing the South Atlantic anomaly. South of the North Pole, we have the Algerian megaliths. The megaliths are located in the country of Algeria in northern Africa and is part of the Sahara Desert. Just about every type of megalith has been found in Algeria. So often when we talk about pyramids, we talk about the Egyptian pyramids, but Algeria had its own pyramids. Algerian pyramids were constructed between the 4th century and the 7th century. Artifacts going back to the Stone Age have been discovered at this location. Perhaps one of the oddities about this area is how well preserved the Stone Age artifacts are. And due to the fact that there's very little rain in this region, it actually has preserved those Stone Age artifacts and prevented erosion from occurring. But thanks to these Algerian megaliths, we get a glimpse into the prehistoric lives of humans. East of the Algerian megaliths is the Mohenjo-Daro, located in India. In ancient times, this area was populated by the Indus Valley Civilization, another population of people that has disappeared. This is such an advanced city for its time that it has many marveling at its sophistication and its urban city life. And once again, that lack of rain has produced an area that has not been eroded away over time by rainwater. But maybe the bigger mystery of this area is how did all of those clay and stone brick survive all these centuries when this entire area is a coastal area? How has it escaped erosion? And our final vortice is the Dragon's Triangle, also known as the Devil's Sea, which is off the coast of Japan. Much like the Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle also has its fair share of missing ships and missing planes. Compasses will malfunction, tales of ghost ships and tales of sea monsters all are part of the reputation of the Dragon's Triangle. And they have also found methane hydrates in this area. It too is known for its strange weather patterns. But just like the Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle needs to be looked at with the bigger picture of all the vortices that some people refer to as vile vortices. Each of these vortices have a higher magnetic field, but these areas also appear to be very strategically placed on the Earth. Is this the actions of an ancient civilization that created these vortices? Is it from an alien planet in order to control this planet? Or is it based on the natural evolution of the Earth? We know that the Earth rotates on its own axis, and we know that the Earth orbits around the Sun. And we know on Earth we have physics and we have gravity that helps keep us attached to Earth instead of flying out into space. But what keeps the Earth spinning on its axis? So if we look at a top that's spinning, doesn't it need balance to stay spinning? Wouldn't it wobble if it wasn't balanced? Wouldn't it just stop if it no longer had the velocity to continue to spin? These vortices in the northern hemisphere run along the line of the Tropic of Cancer, and in the southern hemisphere they run along the line of the Tropic of Capricorn. You can choose to believe that it's nothing but ghosts and demons and devils that plague these vortices, and you can call them vile vortices. But my theory is if you destroyed any one of these magnetic fields, you would cause the Earth to wobble off of its axis, and it would be such a violent wobble that I don't think any species would survive that wobble. So I'm calling these vortices vital. Please let me know in the comments if my analysis nailed it or failed it. The links for other social media platforms for this channel and for Jim is in the description below. Always be safe. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. There are many more videos you can watch, and you can click on the attached playlist card to see some of them. Thanks for watching Paranormal, True or False.